Okay, thank you so much for tuning into the next video on our Angel Investor operating system. In this video, we are going to build the portfolio tab for our operating system, and yeah, let's figure that out now. So for the portfolio tab, I want to create a new page first, and we call this page portfolio. And what we want to do right now is that we want to connect a table view, and this should be the table around the companies. And we will later on use a filter that helps us just show the right information here, but we are going to start with the same portfolio view that we have in the companies. And now you can imagine we need to create some more information for the different companies here. And we are going to start with a select field, and in this select field we want to have a type. So the company can be either an active company, it can be an exited company, or it could be a company that is done, or let's call it dead in this case. And we will use this later on to filter for the companies that we want to show here. Okay. So now we are going to model all of the investments that we are going to do into the company, and we are going to start with a select here type of investment. So this is important to show later in terms of if you either had like a safe note, an equity investment, an SPV, so equity, SPV, safe note. But you can also add, for example, other kind of investment types. And now the interesting part begins, because we are going to add the number of our invested amount. And the number format here, we can use US dollars for that. And this is the money that we have put into the company. And we also want to have a share price for the investment that we did. So share price at investment date, and we can also use US dollars for that. And of course, for some investment types, if you do a safe note, for example, you don't know the exact share price, but you can always leave some information open here. And we also want to have the investment date here, because that helps us later on to calculate our IRR. And okay, we have the investment amount, the share price at the investment date, and now we can have some more information on the current share price, and let's also use a number field for that. So for example, if there was a new round of financing, you can change that share price. So current share price, we use US dollars again, and we can also use that to calculate the current value of our investment. And if we have the current share price, the investment amount, and the share price at investment date, we can also calculate the number of shares, and we are going to use a formula for that. So number of shares, and the formula here is that we are going to use the investment, the invested amount, and we divide it by the share price at the investment date. And this is how we calculate the number of shares. Okay, and now we want to create a new field that calculates the current value of our investment. And to do that, we have either the new share price that we multiply with the number of shares that we have, or on the other hand, we also want to have this kind of manual feature. So for example, if you are doing a safe note, you can then put a manual amount in for what your shares are worth at the moment. And to do that, we will be having a manual value that we add here, and I also choose US dollars and add that. And now we can create a new property that is a formula, and this formula is the current value of our investment. And to do that, we want to do the following right now. So we want to create a formula that does the following. So if the manual value is at 0 or bigger than 0, so let's use a prop here, with the manual value. So if it's 0 or bigger than 0, we want to show the manual value that we have for our shares. And if it's not set at all, we want to calculate the current value by multiplying the share price with the number of shares. So let's add the share price here. So current share price multiplied with number of shares. And I'm going to change that to the right data here. So if the manual value is 0 or bigger than 0, the formula takes this value, and if it's not set at all, the current value of our investment is calculated by the current share price multiplied by the number of shares. Okay, and we can also change the current value to US dollar in this case, but you can also use any other currency for this. And if we have the current value, we can use another formula that calculates our multiple on invested capital, and this is also for most investors really interesting. And multiple on invested capital is just like the invested amount, no, the current value divided by the invested amount. So if we have invested $1,000 and now the current value is $2,000, the multiple on invested capital would be 2. So we have a lot of data now here, and there is one thing still missing. So the IRR, so the internal rate of return, and the formula for that is a little bit more sophisticated. So I'm going to explain it to you in a second. The IRR depends on the time horizon that you had the portfolio company in your portfolio. So since the investment date to the date right now. And we are going to create it through a formula. And I will quickly paste the formula that we have in here. So we want to have the current value of our investment. And we divide that by the invested amount. So invested amount. And then we have some calculation between the date that we invested in. So we are going to take this, so investment date and the day today. So it counts the days between now and the investment days, and then it calculates it on a basis of 365 days. So if it's 1 year since our investment, this would be 365 divided by 365, so 1. And we can take this formula then to calculate the IRR. And the IRR is measured in percent. So let's see what it is right now. We change that to percent. And then we are going to create one example because I think we have most of the data. So let's imagine we invested in Junto through, it's an active company of ours. The type of investment was equity. We invested 100,000. The share price was $100. And the investment date was 1 year ago, so 13th of November 2021. And let's see what happens. The current share price is $200, so we doubled our money on paper. We have 1,000 shares. You could also include a manual value here, but we don't need that. And as you can see, the current value of our position is 200K, and the IRR would be 100%, and the multiple on invested capital would be 2. So this is the main information that we have stored now in our portfolio table. And what we want to do right now is we want to create a filter here so that for the portfolio, we have a filter that just shows the companies that are in our portfolio right now. So the type would be active company. And I can then also change the name of this. So active company. But we can also have one tab, or maybe we can duplicate that to show the dead companies. And to do that, we want to change the filter here. So instead of active, we are going to click on dead companies, filter type would be dead. And we can do the same for the exited companies. So duplicate it again, exited companies, and then have the filter for exited. And we are going to create also a view that shows all companies, or maybe we can just duplicate that again, it's easier. So all portfolio portcos, and the filter here would be either dead, exited, or active. And as you can see, now you have the information on Junto here, so our company that we invested in. And because you don't need all the information as detailed as in the company page, I would also change the properties here that are shown. So we want to have the company name, yes, but we don't need the category, we don't need the specific deal, we don't need the founders, and we want to have more information on the KPI part of it. Share price, we want that. We don't want the Twitter, we don't want the website, and we can then save that. And to make it a little bit more easier to understand, I would rename this type of company or portco, so that we know exactly what this is about. And then I would also change the order here so that I have the invested amount right besides the information on the company. And I think right now we have a lot of the information saved. We can also count all, or no, let's do the sum, so we know the exact amount that we invested in all companies. And we want to also calculate the sum of all of our active investments. Yeah, and then something really interesting, I think. So for the IRR and the calculation of it, we are calculating the time between the investment date and the current day. So if we want to create the IRR correctly for exited companies, we would need to do another formula where we also add the information on the exit date. But we can do this in another video, so I think it's not that relevant for now. Yeah, and this was it for this video. In the next one, we are going to take a deep dive on more KPIs and data and see what other things we can do with the data that we have now in our Notion file. So make sure to hit up for the next video, subscribe to the video, to my channel if you like what I'm doing, and see you soon.